Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from the Guy Plays, and today we're going to take a little look at some of the playtesting I did after the 16.9.1 update. I figured that rather than do a full rundown while Excalibur is still in prime patching territory, I would just go ahead and give you some of my discoveries. So, I guess we'll call this Excalibur's Exalted Blade Debunked. For now. So first and foremost, one of the biggest things to note is that Exalted Blade's melee attacks and its Bladewaves are actually affected differently by Warframe mods and weapon mods. I'll make note of that as we work through the information. Now first things first, let's take a look at things that carry over from your equipped melee weapon. From playtesting, both the Adirax with a base of 45 and the Syndicate Prime with a base damage of 130 were both doing 262 points of damage with the melee swing, and 221 points of damage with the Bladewave. This basically confirms that a weapon's base damage does not affect Exalted Blade's damage. Another thing to note is that both the Syndicate Prime and the Adirax share the same critical damage, with both of them doing 523. Now, this is interesting because both of them have different critical multipliers, with the Adirax sitting at a 3x multiplier while the Syndicate Prime sits at a 2x. This would also prove that critical multipliers are not carried over, which would imply the critical chance and possibly even status chance aren't adopted either. Now, the last thing to compare was attack speed. I decided to pit the Anku's 1.08 attack speed against the Adirax's 0.917, which also yields the same results. A weapon's stats simply do not carry over, excluding one very specific set of weapons. So far, the Syndicate, Adirax, and Anku have all been doing 262 points of melee damage, and 221 points of Bladewave damage. However, equip any of these single Skana, and you will notice that melee damage will jump to 288 points of damage, and the Bladewave jumps to 243. Might be a bug, might be a cool passive, who knows? Now, let's take a look at weapon mods. We'll first start with elementals. As you can see, ancient healers are resistant to toxins, so we'll start there. The Skana at its base originally did 288 points of melee damage, and is now doing 411. However, note that the Bladewave is still doing 243 points of damage, meaning that Bladewave isn't affected by elemental mods. Now, with a fire mod equipped, although it gives no bonuses, melee hits are now doing 535 points of damage, and the Bladewave remains the same at 243. Now, the reason this is so important is the fact that unlike Valkyr's Hysteria, where elemental mods are converted into IPS damage, elemental mods equipped on Exalted Blade retain them, meaning that you can equip the appropriate elemental combos in order to deal the optimal amount of damage. Now, while elemental mods don't boost Bladewave's damage, base mods definitely do. With the max pressure point equipped on the Skana, the melee damage jumps from 288 to 602, while the Bladewave damage jumps from 243 to 507. Note that while New Loka's Bright Purity also boosts the damage aspects of Exalted Blade, you cannot trigger the Purity effect while you're using EB. Another thing to note is that critical multiplier mods do affect crit damage. As we saw from earlier, the Skana dealt 575 points of crit damage with a 1.5 times multiplier. But with an organ chatter equipped, it was critting for 1093 with a 2.8 times damage multiplier. Now, since critical multiplier mods do affect Exalted Blade, this would imply that critical chance mods will most likely have an effect, as well as status chance mods. Speaking of crits, having Berserker equipped on your weapon will also cause EB to trigger attack speed stats. Now, here are a few things that I honestly don't feel like editing in because I'm exhausted. Fury obviously works, as do channeling mods. Just note that channeling only affects melee damage and not Bladewave damage. In addition, there is one very weird thing. While the rest of the channeling mods still require channeling in order to get their benefits, Life Strike seems to always be on. I'm thinking it's most likely a bug that'll get patched out. Now, last but not least, when it comes to Warframe mods, it's pretty evident that power efficiency works on this. Its power range is set to about 40 meters, which isn't affected by range mods like Narrow-Minded or Overextended. And finally, power strength does affect its melee damage, but yet again does not affect its Bladewave damage. Last couple of things to note, be aware that while its slide attack does provide a short-range radial blind, it does not leave enemies open to finishers like the revamped radial blind. And as for Slash Dash, while you will shoot out Bladewaves on each attack, at this current moment it does not seem to add any bonus damage on each of the actual slashes. So that pretty much covers all of the info I can confirm as of update 16.9.1. Now I've got a feeling that there will be some tweaks down the line, and I promise that I'll leave annotations on anything that occurs in the near future. But aside from that, I am extremely exhausted, so the dick jokes will just have to wait. So thank you all for watching another episode of Debunk. Be sure to keep an eye out for the upcoming Excalibur rundown, and if you liked what you saw and want to support the channel, be sure to check out the Patreon page for backdoor access. Now, don't forget to do all the things that I ask you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, stay tuned for more mind-numbing playtesting here at A Gay Guy Plays. Seriously, what the hell are you still doing here? There will be no dick jokes tonight. The dick shop is closed.